Hey there, I'm Lindsay Lyman. After 12 years at Amazon, I learned a really powerful truth. Success doesn't wait for the perfect moment. Are you telling yourself things will get better when? When the project ends? When you have a different boss? When the economy improves? The when trap keeps talented professionals stuck for years. On this podcast, we're done waiting. I'll show you how to stop postponing your success and get the salary and title you deserve now, without working crazy hours or sacrificing your sanity. If you're ready to transform your career without starting over, you're in the right place. You know that voice in your head? It sounds like a broken record. It tells you you're too old to switch careers or now's not a good time. It whispers that you're going to make the wrong move and waste years going down the wrong path. It convinces you to stay where you are at because at least where you're at, it feels safe, even though you're miserable. Here's what I want you to know. That self-doubt you're feeling about your career path, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you or you've done something wrong. It's actually a completely rational response to the way careers work today. The problem is that when we let that doubt paralyze us from taking any action, that's when it becomes a problem. So today I want to talk about why career self-doubt is so common, the 3 biggest mistakes that make it worse, and I want to teach you a simple framework to help you move forward, even when we can't see the whole staircase we're trying to climb. Because the truth is, you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start taking the next step. So let's imagine if you're anything like me or people I've worked with, you have moments where you're scrolling through LinkedIn and you see another post from someone who's found their passion and made a career pivot to their dream job. And you're just sitting there thinking like, good for them. Like, I'm excited for them, but I have no idea what my dream job even looks like. I hate the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what my dream job is. It sometimes changes month to month, year to year. Maybe you've been in your current role for 5, 6, 7 years and you're really good at it, but you're not excited about it anymore. You know you want something different, but you're not sure what that something is. And every time you start thinking about making a change, if you're anything like me, your brain starts to spiral and tell you why that's a terrible idea. It tells you that if you have a gap, how's that going to look on your resume? What are people going to think? It whispers you're too old to start over, or you're too young to be making a change, or you don't have enough experience to go and do that other thing. It convinces you to wait until you have more clarity, when the timing's better, when you're more confident. So you stay. But someday never comes, and that doubt never goes away. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. But more importantly, there's a way you can get through this that doesn't require you to have it all figured out up front before we start doing some things. Let me tell you about my dad. He's always talking about how he just doesn't know if there's going to be enough jobs or what people are going to be doing in the future. I get it. When you've lived through one way of working, it's hard to imagine it being completely different. But here's what I always remind him. 30 years ago, no one thought being an online influencer was a career. It didn't exist. It came out of creativity and demand and technology improvements. The careers that exist today that didn't exist when our parents were starting out are endless, and the same thing will continue to happen. We all know careers don't work how they used to for our parents. You don't join a company, stay with it, and work your way up. That may work in some instances, but that's no longer the norm. And it hasn't looked that way for quite a while, especially in today's market of layoffs and changes in AI and technology. Career paths are changing even faster than they have. I think of like your career path, it's not climbing the corporate ladder. It's more like playing on a jungle gym. Okay. You're moving sideways, you're climbing up. You sometimes need to step down to position yourself to take a bigger jump. And here's the key to it. You're also building the jungle gym and finding other cool new toys to play with as you go. But this is why we feel so much self-doubt. There's so much uncertainty. There is not a clear path. And our brains, by design, we as humans love a step-by-step directions. But when it requires us to figure it out as we go, that is where all of the angst and self-doubt comes in. There's nothing wrong with you. As humans, we just like step-by-step directions and guarantees that if we do this, this sort of thing is going to happen. It's just not that simple anymore. There's no magic, do these 10 steps, and you're going to have the type of career that you want formula. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with you wanting clarity and guidance. We're humans. It's what we do. We like control. We like knowing what's coming next. So, of course, there's going to be some self-doubt when we're no longer climbing corporate ladders. We're playing at the corporate jungle gym and building it as we go. So let me share kind of the 3 biggest mistakes I see that are amplifying and adding to this career self-doubt that aren't necessary. And then I want to talk to you about what should you do. So mistake number 1 is letting your limited beliefs drive your actions, or I should say inactions, really. Okay, so you got to know, what are your limiting beliefs you have about your career? It might be stories you tell yourself about what you should or shouldn't be doing based on your age, based on your experience, based on what other people might think. If you're super young and you're ambitious, some people are like, oh, I don't trust you. You don't have enough experience. If you're older and closer towards retirement, you might have beliefs like, well, you shouldn't change career paths now. No one's going to want to hire you. You don't want to start over. You're too old for this. Okay, those are some limiting beliefs you might have that are keeping you stuck where you're at. I was working with a client the other day who's trying to figure out how to explain a gap in their resume. And they were spiraling about what other people were going to think and how they would explain it in their interviews, right? And this was kind of one of these limiting beliefs holding them back from even simply applying for a few jobs they really wanted, but confidently navigating through the interview process. We talked through it, and here's what we realized. They had a very good logical reason for taking a year off. And it was actually an amazing decision that they made. But more importantly, we realized that the company they want to end up working for isn't going to have an issue with a gap year. The right company is going to ask about it and is going to hear and listen, and they're going to see the importance of it and value that person and acknowledge the skills that they bring to the table. So I asked them, if a company really is going to have an issue with whatever thing you're worried about, is that the kind of company you want to be working for anyways? So mistake number 1, I see a lot of us making that's adding to this self-doubt about driving our careers is a whole bunch of limiting beliefs we have about why we should or shouldn't be making changes. Second mistake I see is treating career decisions like a one-way door decision. So at Amazon, we talk about this a lot, of a one-way door versus a two-way door decision. A one-way door decision is once you make it, you can never go back. You can never unmake that decision. A two-way door decision means you can go through the door and come back through it again. Honestly, I can't think of a single career decision or a career path that's not a two-way door decision. It might cost you some time and money and some hard work, but you can always go back and change it. But we make it such a big deal. I have to strategically make the right move. What is this going to look like to other people? And that just adds so much unnecessary pressure. It makes these career decisions feel heavy and big when we want to make it light and easy and something we can be nimble and play with. Remember, we're on the jungle gym. We want to play. We want to have a little fun. We can go up and we can come down and we can go sideways and we can look at things through different perspectives. I'm not saying go and make crazy decisions, but it's not this huge, big deal. We don't need to add this unnecessary pressure to it. These are two-way door decisions. And mistake number 3 is actually really big because this is one a lot of us struggle with, but we're not even consciously aware of it. But the mistake number 3 is expecting other people to drive your career. We're leaning too heavily on other people, usually your manager, expecting them to do the heavy lifting. You want them to promote you. You want them to help you identify strategic projects or career opportunities or ways you can get exposure to other people. Let me tell you about one of my most favorite jobs at Amazon. I basically created it. It did not exist. There was no job description. There was no job opening that I went and applied for. But through my existing work, I saw that there were gaps. I saw that there were needs. And I came up with a plan on how to fill it and pitched a job and pitched a plan and went all in and was willing for people to judge me and willing to get rejected. But it worked out. But that happened because I knew what I wanted. I knew what I didn't want as well. And yes, I used my leadership and managers as tools to help me get there, but I didn't expect them to do the heavy lifting. I didn't expect them to write the job description, to tell me what deliverables would be, how to stay on track, what KPIs we should be doing, to make sure I had time and space to focus on my career development instead of just the technical work. That's my job. A lot of us are punting this off to other people, expecting them to do the work. When you let other people drive your career, it might sound easier, but it's actually worse because you've just given up all control over it and now you're on their timeline. If you want to influence the outcome, if you want control over what your career is, you're the one that needs to be taking the action. Utilize your leadership and managers and people around you to help you, but you have to be owning it. Okay, so what do? Here's my framework for moving forward, even while you're going to have some self-doubt. Okay, I call this good enough to go. Are we good enough to go? Okay, C's and B's get degrees. You don't need perfect clarity to take action. You just need good enough clarity to take the next step. I think of it like driving at night with your headlights, okay? You can't see the entire route, but you can see far enough ahead of you to keep moving ahead safely. The path is always being created and changing. There's no one right path. What you want to really dive into is you got to know what are your limiting beliefs and how do you overcome them? What are the things you've been taught or you believe that are adding to that fear and scarcity? You got to go manage your brain. Just taking one step at a time versus having everything figured out is where you want to focus. You don't even have to know what you want your career to be. I hate that question. What do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know. You don't have to know the specifics. It does help to know generally, like what mountain are you trying to climb? But I don't mean the specifics. I mean, what type of lifestyle do you want? Or what type of work environment? Or what type of influence? But what field is it in? How do you get there? How do you do it? We don't need to know that. So when I say you don't need to know the specifics, you don't need to have the step-by-step plan before you take step 1. You want to know what is it that I'm going after, not how. Because if you don't know what you want out of your career, you're never going to know when you've arrived and you're going to just keep chasing the next thing. So start with these 3 questions. What do you want more of in your work? This could be things like autonomy. It could be voice at the table. It could be scope of influence. It could be independence. It could be ability to innovate. It could be leadership and management. What do you want less of? It could be any of those things as well. What's one small step you could take in the next 2 weeks to move towards the more and away from the less? Okay? The key is to think experiments, not permanent decisions. 2-way doors, not 1-way doors. We're simply just trying to take some sort of action, something emotion stays emotion, to gather some data about what you like and what you don't like. Each step is going to give you more of that information and help you continue to play on that playground and figure out your next career move. Now, if you're struggling with self-doubt, let's talk about confidence versus self-confidence for a second, because this is crucial. Confidence versus self-confidence, this is my bread and butter. This is what I've spent hours and hours developing course content and helping people with. High level confidence, it's output based. It's based on things you did in the past. Self-confidence, it's an input based. It's simply your belief in your ability to figure it out and like who you're being along the way. Okay? So to have that self-confidence, 3 key areas. 1, you've got to learn to let people judge you. Think what they want to think about a gap year. Think what they want to think about your age or your experience. 2, you got to be okay when things are not okay. You got to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. You got to be willing to try some things and go back through that door and try some other things and go back through that door and try some things when we don't know the full plan. And 3, you got to learn to like yourself and get your own back along the way. If you're struggling with self-confidence around your career path, look at which of these 3 aspects you're struggling with most. It's usually a version of all 3 for most of us as humans, but there tends to be one that trips us up the most. The one I see the most working with my clients is people are really worried what other people are going to think. How's this going to look if I make this change? What's my family going to think? What are my peers going to think? Or my peers are already above me and I'm not. What should I be doing? What am I going to put on my resume? You're optimizing for other people's opinions, waiting for them to validate and give you permission to do things or not. That's just a losing game. Go optimize to get up the mountain you want to climb. But here's what you got to remember. People are going to judge you regardless of whatever you choose. That's just human nature. But ask yourself this. If that leader or company or team is really going to have an issue with whatever thing you're worried about, is that the kind of place you want to be working anyway? So this week, I want you to identify one thing you want more of in your career and one person you could have a 15-minute conversation with who has experience in that area. It could be someone at your company, in your network, someone you find on LinkedIn, doesn't matter. The goal isn't to get them to hire you or solve your career problem. It's to gather one piece of data about what the path might actually look like. We're going to start stepping down the path one step at a time. Maybe you want more creative problem solving and less administrative busy work. Maybe your next step might be volunteering for a project that uses more of your analytical skills, or having that conversation with someone who works in a role that interests you. Remember, you don't need to know where you want to be in 5 years. You just need to know the mountain you're trying to climb. Do you want more flexibility, more leadership opportunities, more creative work, more financial stability? Start there and let the specific path emerge as you take action. If you're done feeling all the self-doubt about your career, I'd love to help you. This is what I do in my on-demand career coaching. It's designed specifically for people struggling with this. Each month we do a different challenge and dive deep into taking action to own and manage and lead our career so that you can get the salary and title and respect you deserve. There's a link in the show notes if you want to try it out for free. Come see all the content, get all the coaching help you want for free, give it a try. Stay if you want. It's about the cost of lunch once a month, but go and do something. Take action to start figuring out what path you want to go down. And remember, you can always come back and find a new path if that's what interests you. All right, y'all, you're amazing. You got this. We'll talk soon.